Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm working on the Procumbens Nana, and I'm super excited about this tree. It has a lot of great movement to it. You're looking at it from what will be the front of the tree. My main goal is to make the top a little bit more rounded, bring it out on this side a little bit more so that it's not so triangular. And then I'm going to have the pad step down on this side and come into what eventually will be like a semi-cascading arm. Right now this arm doesn't come out very far, but eventually I'm just going to continue to wire it out and let it grow out, and I'll have it shooting out to the side quite a bit. So step one, again, I kind of want to just wire these big shoots that come off the top of the tree so that I can bend them into a position that I want them to be in, maybe work with them a little bit, and then the ends are going to get trimmed off of a couple of them. And the one on this side, I'm going to try to make it a little more rounded off and kind of taper off on this side a little bit better. And then I'll go back and I'll wire in the smaller branches into some nice pad shapes. And over the years, I want to grow out the branches on this side, let them thicken up, keep the pads stacking up on this side. And I kind of want to leave this side to be more of like a negative space in the tree. And I think that would really help your eye kind of follow the flow of this really neat S shape in the trunk. So I had to drop this down onto a nursery pot because it's so tall. And that'll allow me to work on it nice and comfortably. And hopefully this thing turns out to be a pretty awesome looking bonsai tree when we're done here. But again, this is just going to be the first wiring just to get it to start to grow into its rough shape. So this is going to take me many years to develop, but the good thing is it's already been growing for many years. I'm guessing this thing is 7 or 8 years old, maybe even older. So here we go. We're going to dive right into it. When I'm working on this tree already, and that is I have all these small branches that are coming off the trunk, and in my mind it seems better to use a branch to come straight out and make its own pad rather than take this long shoot and bend it in front to make the pads. The reason it's so difficult in my mind to think about this is because right off the bat, initially, this is much fuller, it seems much thicker, gives a better canopy structure at the top, but over time, if I can get this out of the way and I can really let the light penetrate onto these branches, I feel like over time, these will fill out into really nice pads. The branches will thicken up, it'll give the tree like an overall better look, and it'll also allow me to keep this kind of compact and use these branches to thicken up the trunk down below. If I'm constantly letting all of the growth come out of the top, then I feel like it might cause the top trunk to get really thick and everything down here to stay kind of skinny and gangly looking. So I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do is leave these, and it's going to look a little funny at first for the first few years, but as they grow it'll look nicer. But I really kind of got to look at it a little bit more and decide, is that something I really want to do? Because it's really initially going to affect the look of the tree. So, and I know bonsai is all about waiting, being patient, but I just want to make sure that I'm not cutting off a large section of a branch that is going to take years to grow back. So I'm going to have to look at it a little more, and then I'll make up my final decision on what I'm going to do, and then I'll start wiring everything out. I think I've decided to trim this off, and there's another positive note to waiting and being patient and growing these lower branches out, and that is the less I'm using wire to make in like an unnatural shape in the tree. And I know this is an art form and everything, but I feel like sometimes we use a little bit too much wire and the trees, they start to look unnatural. They look like a tree that there's no way it would ever grow like that. But so I think I've decided to go ahead and just leave these alone, trim this shoot back quite a ways and just tuck it down and help it fill in the canopy up top. And then this side I'm still gonna pull it out and make this, you know, a little bit more rounded. Obviously I'm gonna get rid of this tip over here, but and then I can work on developing the little individual pads that kind of go up the canopy, and I'll pull these straight out so that they can grow into position into their new pads. But that's going to take some time for sure. Some much thicker wire to bend this thing out. It doesn't really feel like it's that strong, but this 2.5 wire is just not strong enough, so I'm gonna get some thicker wire here. As you can see, that already gives it a much more rounded canopy look. So now I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to have to wire this branch over a little bit, so I have to use some more of that 4 mil. This branch over here is a lot thinner, so hopefully I can do the 2.5. And this one I think is going to stay right in its own spot. So just only have one more wire that's kind of a pain in the butt with this stuff, and then move on to some easier wiring. So I'm going to keep going here, but I just wanted to explain why this looks so bare now. Basically, what I'm trying to do as I go up the tree is I'm trying to think about into the future. For instance, right here we had 2 branches coming out of the exact same spot. The actual one I cut off was actually thicker and bigger, so initially I was like, oh, I probably should leave that one, but after looking at it, once I straightened it out into the canopy, it stuck way out, you know, like here. and I would have had to cut back to almost no foliage. Whereas this one, once I put it into place, I can leave about half of this ball of foliage, clip it back, and it'll match the dome shape of the tree, and then I can let everything grow out together. So that was why I did that, because there would have been 2 branches on this side and then a major branch over here coming off in that exact same spot, and that will cause a bulge in the trunk at that point. So I had to eliminate at least one of those branches, not to mention, like I said, the other one would have stuck out way too far, and I would have had to cut off pretty much all the foliage just to get it back to follow the shape of the tree. And then down here, I'm having to decide, how much negative space do I want to leave on this side of the tree, and also just kind of roughly pick a spot where I want the pads to be in the future. But eliminating this dangling branch that comes over the side, what that's going to do is next year it's really going to allow these branches to fill out. All the sunlight will hit them. They'll start to have some nice bud back, and this can actually slowly develop into really nice pads coming down this side of the tree. Again, I know it really looks super bare right now. It doesn't look like super fantastic, but again, this is the first time I've got my hands on this tree. It's going to take years to develop this into a really nice bonsai, and I'm really trying to put a lot of thought into the future of this tree, not the now. So that's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. If it looks like I'm going a little drastic and making it look a little too bare, there is a purpose behind it. The more sunlight I can get down into this tree, the better I can fill out the pads that I want. And maybe there are some thicker, fuller branches up here, but if I just let them keep growing, they're going to block out these branches below. It's going to get really full up here, and we're going to have no growth down below. So I really want this to progress into a really nice tree. I want to develop a really nice taper. As you can see, like, the taper is good, and then it gets skinny, and then it starts to fatten up a little bit again. Why? Because we have all the branches up top. So the only way I can combat that is to start to thin out the top a little bit for now, let it bush out down here at the bottom, let it thicken up the trunk down here, and then I can start letting the top fill back in a little bit. And I just want to make sure I'm picking the right branches. Again, all these trees are work in progress, but I'm trying to use the knowledge that I've developed over the past few years to make good decisions on my initial cuts and wiring here. So that's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. I'm going to keep going. It really shouldn't take me too much longer. I'm probably not going to do too much wiring in the top until I let the bottom fill out, and that way I can really kind of shape everything I want it to go. But we'll see. I might get a little crazy and kind of maybe try to make some pad levels as I go up. We'll just kind of see how it goes as I work my way up the tree. That was another good example. I don't know if you all can see this. Let me try to zoom in actually. Okay, so this is the major branch right here. I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but there's 3 major branches that come off the main trunk. One of them is this one right here, and it's the one that was dangling down the side of the tree over here. So initially I cut it back to about here, and then right now, after we just had that talk about making good cuts for the future, I noticed that it was covering up this really nice branch right here, which eventually, because of all the foliage covering it, would have died. So instead of using this covering branch, I want to use branches that are coming out of the main trunk. Again, that will help thicken up the trunk as it tapers up the tree. So I cut that off. That's going to allow this right here to be my new front pad as it grows out. And I may even, no, I think I'll leave it right there. But what I'm going to do is, I'll go back one more, and I'm going to go on. What I'm going to try to do here is get a good angle on that. All right. So once I wire that out, you won't even know there was a cut there, right? So you don't want to leave a flush cut facing this way, especially on the front of the tree, because it's going to be a very obvious cut. Cutting on an angle like that, now I can wire these down into a nice little pad, and you'll never even know that cut was there. There is always a possibility that you lose, the last 2 here, but they should be fine. Junipers are super resilient, so again, that's gonna come down. Then I have my natural growing pad right here. That branch will thicken up, and then I can just keep working around the tree like that. All right, everyone, this is what I've come up with so far. I don't think I'm gonna go any further for now. I'm gonna let this thing kind of grow back and do its thing. What I've done is kind of created pads going up this side of the tree, and then it kind of cascades into a round topped canopy. And then I have a semi-cascading arm right here that for now I just trimmed off the upper growing branches and some branches in between the two levels, just to give it some definition. Again, this thing needs to grow back drastically. I've left a lot of little branches like this one right here, hoping that it'll fill in this area. There's another one over here that I wanted to come out and fill in over here. And again, I'm expecting all of these little tiny poofs of foliage to turn into nice little pads. And once they do that, you can see I've put this into nice rows that are pretty even, so that once they do actually develop into fuller pads, this thing will have very nice defined rows of foliage going up this canopy. Again, same thing with the sides. I want these to grow out into larger canopies. I mean, not canopies, larger pads. And the reason I did this and I didn't have the arm that kind of dangled down the tree as the different pads is because by having each one of these branches become their own pad, it's really going to help thicken up the trunk where they go into the tree, which will give me a nice taper going down the trunk rather than having all the growth at the top of the tree, which would make a big bulge in the trunk at the top of the tree, and the rest of the tree would just be skinny. So my goal is over time to slowly let these branches grow bigger, more foliage, and develop the trunk in a nice taper going down this tree. I think it has a really neat shape. I like the negative space on this side. It is going to need a very skinny cascading type of pot so that this branch right here can do its thing and be a nice cool cascading arm. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see right now in the pot that it's in. It's sitting right up against the pot. But again, this thing's gonna have to sit kind of off to the side on a very skinny cascading pot in order for me to use this branch down here. But I think that's kind of important with the look of the tree. And as you can see, I've definitely thinned out the top quite a bit. I'm gonna leave it for now. There's probably some more thinning to do next year,
But for now, I think this is good. I think this definitely is going to allow the light penetration to really come down into all these pads and help them grow out and turn this tree into a really awesome bonsai tree. So for now, it's been slip potted into a new pot with some good fertilizer. The main wiring and trimming is done. I think it looks pretty neat, but I'm super excited to see what this looks like at the end of next year after it puts on some good growth and I can do some refinement wiring. So thanks for watching, everybody. Again, this is a Procumbens Nana, and I have one more of them to show you and go through and kind of do my rough wiring on, and then we'll move on to some other trees that I got today. So I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody.